Welcome, brothers and sisters. Here are some of this month's highlights. How should we view counsel? Does it apply to us even if we don't like the way it was given? In times of crisis, how does the organization respond to help our brothers and sisters? And we will go behind the scenes of last year's convention drama about King Hezekiah. This is the May program of JW Broadcasting. Let's begin by visiting a family in Stockholm, Sweden. The parents, Usama and Christina, have two daughters, Talita and Isabella. When Talita was born, the doctor found cataracts in both of her eyes. A cataract is a clouding of the eye's natural lens. So the doctor had to operate so that Talita wouldn't lose her sight completely, a terrifying situation for any parent. Today, Talita is 7 years old and almost blind in one eye, but completely blind in the other. Teaching a child about Jehovah and the system of things is already a challenge, even without physical ailments involved. But let's find out how Talita's parents rose to the challenge, making sure that she received a proper spiritual education despite her poor vision.
Jag ser fram emot att
I look forward to not having poor sight anymore, and that I can play with a bear and a lion and to sit on the back of a tiger.
Jehovah gives us a fantastic promise in Isaiah 35:5. The eyes of the blind will be opened.
It's been a challenge to get to where we are today. We thank Jehovah for all the help he has given us.
As soon as Talita was able to leave the house after the operation, we made sure to go to the meetings.
It helped us a lot to be able to throw our burden on Jehovah. We prayed together, we cried a lot together, because it was so hard.
One of the challenges is that we have to give Talita audio description constantly. We have to tell her who is coming in and what is happening.
We get so many amazing materials on jw.org and also through the congregation. She really loves to read, learn from the great teacher. It has questions which make her a part of the story.
She has a very good memory and therefore she remembers a lot of what she reads. So when we are with friends, she often quizzes them.
Vad hette Jesu apostlar?
De är ju så många.
Ja, men Josefs fru och bröder, de är svårare.
Precis, det här var ju ingenting. Judas Iskariot och den andra Judas.
Judas Thaddeus.
I really like to sing the songs in my songbook.
Talita's spiritual goal is to learn more of our kingdom songs. We get so much help from the beautiful music on the website and also from the Caleb and Sophia videos.
She knows many of the stories from my book of Bible stories, so she can answer in her own words. We will ask the question like, do you know this about David? And if she knows the answer, then we encourage her to answer at the meeting.
When I give an answer at the meetings, Jehovah becomes happy because he loves children.
She often asks the friends, do you love Jehovah? So she feels very united with them. One of the best moments where we saw that Talita's spirituality had grown was when she came home from a sleepover at her grandparents' house. My parents are not Jehovah's Witnesses, and her grandmother had said that God doesn't exist. So when Talita came home, she said, "And then when I was going to sleep, I prayed to Jehovah, would you please help grandmother to realize that you do exist, that you are real?"
Det fantastiska hoppet vi har.
We try to keep our wonderful hope alive. So we often talk about what we will do in paradise. We really look forward to when Talita will be able to see again, living in a paradise with all our friends. It's going to be wonderful.
I think that Jehovah looks forward to looking at me when I play with a tiger.
I'll have to make sure that I remember the names of Joseph's brothers in case I meet Talita and she decides to quiz me. Her parents have done a good job in raising such a fine young sister, and together with them, we eagerly look forward to the benefits of the new system. Isaiah 35:5 says, "At that time, the eyes of the blind will be opened." Such divine reminders can truly warm our heart. And Jehovah's reminders not only provide us comfort, but can also help us make important decisions in our everyday life. This brings us to our music video, which is entitled, "I Keep Your Reminders."
What should I do? Who should I look to? This could just be harmless, could be respectable. There may be no need for me to reject it all. Oh, what is the right course for me? Which path will it be? What should I do? Take which point of view? It could be excessive with many dangers there. All the kinds of things that could prove to be a snare. Oh, what is the right course for me? Jehovah, give ear to my plea. I keep your reminders and I love them dearly. I'll treasure them every day, monthly, yearly. All the things I have heard in accord with your word, help me understand. I know what's required. I'd better inquire. I don't want to act in a way to cause offense, but it sounds like there likely would be consequence. It's clear what's the right course for me. The key, the guarantee. I keep your reminders and I love them dearly. They strengthen my heart and help me to see clearly. All the things I have heard in accord with your word,
Did you notice that it was a Bible-trained conscience that helped our sister make a wise decision? She knew what potential danger lay ahead. Yes, the reminders from God's Word guided her. The theme for our program this month is Treasure Jehovah's Reminders, and it's based on Psalm 19:7, where we're told, "The reminder of Jehovah is trustworthy, making the inexperienced one wise." In the original language, the word here translated as reminder comes from a root word meaning to go over again, to repeat. Reminders have always been an essential part of Jehovah's teaching. In ancient Israel, God's people continually received commandments, regulations, and reminders. In fact, Jehovah tells us that he sent his prophets again and again to repeatedly remind his people of their responsibilities. The Apostle Peter felt the need to give reminders even to those who were well established in the truth. Notice how he describes this at 2 Peter 1:12 and 13. "For this reason, I intend always to remind you of these things, although you know them and are well established in the truth that is present in you. But I consider it right, as long as I'm in this tabernacle, to stir you with reminders." In verse 15, he goes on to give the reason why he felt the need to give the brothers reminders. He says, "I will always do my utmost, so that after my departure, you may be able to recall these things for yourselves." So Peter was determined to help the brothers and sisters in his day to remember or recall the teachings they'd already learned. It shouldn't come as a surprise then if today a lot of our teaching involves reminders. It follows the pattern set by Jehovah in ancient Israel and with the first century Christians. But why do we need reminders? Let's consider 3 reasons. First, let's look at Psalm 103, verse 2. There it says, "Let me praise Jehovah. May I never forget all that he has done." Why then do we need reminders? Simply put, because we forget. If we had perfect memories, we wouldn't need so many reminders. Even in everyday life, many of us use little notes to remind ourselves of what we need to do. And who of us hasn't seen the need for a list of reminders when going shopping, only to realize when we return that we forgot to get one of the important items we needed to purchase? If reminders are important in everyday life, how much more so in matters that involve our relationship with Jehovah? Let's read Luke 10, verses 39 and 40. Speaking of Martha, we are told, "She also had a sister called Mary, who sat down at the feet of the Lord and kept listening to what he was saying. Martha, on the other hand, was distracted with attending to many duties." What was Martha's problem? She was distracted. So the second reason why we need reminders is that, like Martha, at times we too become distracted. Although we may already know a vital fact, that fact might get put into the back of our mind, figuratively speaking, because other matters are demanding our attention. Satan is the great distractor. He tries to turn our attention away from the true issues of our day. People in general have become more and more distracted by entertainment and other non-essential matters. No wonder that Satan has succeeded in misleading so many. They don't even realize what has happened. Reason number 3 is alluded to at Matthew 24, verse 45. Who really is the faithful and discreet slave whom his master appointed over his domestics to give them their food at the proper time? Notice that the spiritual food is given to us at the proper time. Our circumstances in life are continually changing. How often do we hear, "That was just what I needed"? We've all experienced that, haven't we? So what are 3 of the reasons why we need reminders? 1, because we tend to forget things. 2, we often become distracted. 3, our changed circumstances may require a reminder of something we already knew but didn't fully need at that time. So that brings us to the next question. What will help us to remember? It's interesting to note that Jehovah has used many ways to remind his people of what they should do. At Numbers chapter 10, verse 10, we're told that the various festivals were given as reminders, especially the celebration of the Passover. That means that every time the Israelites prepared and celebrated one of these festivals, they were reminded of important matters, such as how Jehovah provides for his people and how he has saved them in the past. Something similar happens today at the commemoration of the Lord's evening meal. Not only do we hear the reminders from God's word, but the act of passing the bread and wine also serves as an action that reminds us of what Jesus did in our behalf. But what do we need to do in order for those reminders to have a beneficial impact on our lives? Notice what Psalm 119, verse 99 says. It tells us, I have more insight than all my teachers because I ponder over your reminders. Yes, we need to ponder over these reminders. That means not just listening to or reading them, but it involves thinking deeply about them, meditating on their value. Just to listen or read without meditating is like looking through the lens of a movie camera without pressing the record button. We see things and hear things, but nothing is recorded. So we need to meditate, visualize, and review these reminders. This will help us to remember what we learn. But figuratively speaking, there is something else that we can do to press the record button. That means we don't have to wait for someone else to give us a reminder. We can make our own reminder. How can we do so? The answer to that question is highlighted in Jehovah's instructions to Moses as found at Exodus 17:14. Jehovah now said to Moses, write this as a memorial, or the footnote says reminder, in the book and repeat it to Joshua. What's the point? Write down new things we want to remember. Some brothers use a notebook or exercise book to write down a list of interesting points that they want to remember. Then they look through the book from time to time to remind themselves of those points. Many of us do this with our notes from conventions and assemblies. Of course, to do that successfully, you need to remember where you put the notebook. Additionally, we have to be careful that we don't write down every little fact. Otherwise, we may become overwhelmed with all the information. We can make these notes either on paper or electronically, using computers or electronic devices. Whatever system we use, let's make lists of things that we want to remember. Many brothers have found it good to have 2 separate lists. One list could be subjects, perhaps points that we want to use in the ministry or in our own lives. Another, scriptures, explanations that clarify the meaning of certain verses. With regard to notes on scriptures, let's ask a very important question. Do you have a study Bible? What is a study Bible? Perhaps it's a separate Bible to the one you take in the ministry. It's a Bible for you to write in so that you're reminded of things that you've learned. These are some of the things we can do with a study Bible. Highlight or underline some words or verses. That will make it easier to find them again. But remember not to make too many highlights or marks, otherwise nothing will stand out. Write a summary of points and scriptures you want to remember on the blank pages in the front or the back of your Bible. Write notes in the margin. That's what Gilead students often do. Of course, you need the right type of pen or pencil that won't bleed through to the other side of the page. What type of things could you write in the margin? Perhaps new points that you learn while reading magazines or attending meetings and assemblies. If you learn a new point, ask yourself what verse is being explained and then write a brief comment in the margin next to that verse. Let's take an example. Perhaps you are reading the Sermon on the Mount and you get to Matthew chapter 7, verses 24 through 27. That's the illustration about the two men who build houses, one on sand and the other on rock. As you research this in Watchtower Library or the Research Guide, you come across the article, Are You Building on Sand or on Rock? In the November 1, 2008 Watchtower. What points could you write in the margin to help you remember the explanation? Or perhaps you could write, sand equals build on the surface. Rock equals dig down deep. Digging equals doing and applying. You might even put Luke 6, 46 through 48 there. Now, if you still have room and your writing is small, you could add something like this. Not hearers only, but doers. Both houses in same location, same tests, foundations different. Now, every time you read those verses, you'll be reminded of what they mean. Perhaps like me, you've had several study Bibles over the years. I think back to the first one I used, it was like this big green Bible. Then later, that was replaced by another Bible, this black covered Bible. And then further still, we had another Bible, the Reference Bible. And of course, now for most of us, we have the large print Bible. This does, however, highlight a challenge we might experience. It can be frustrating when a new edition of the Bible comes out. How do you transfer all your study notes over to the new Bible? Additionally, our beloved study Bible may wear out, or worse still, be lost, stolen, burned, ruined, run over, blown away. So that's the advantage of using an electronic list. It doesn't matter what type of file you use, it can be updated very easily, and you can even make copies. Not like the printed copy that already has the old idea written in the margin. Even now in English, we have the books of Matthew, Mark, and Luke in our electronic study Bible on jw.org and WOL. Later in the program, we have some exciting news about how JW Library will help us in this regard, but I'll leave that for later. Really, having a study Bible is not only helpful, but it also makes our personal study far more interesting. How so? Every time we read or study a publication, we'll find ourselves searching for new points that we can write in our study Bible. This way, we'll be doing what the psalmist expressed at Psalm 119, verse 111. We will take Jehovah's reminders as our permanent possession or heritage, for his reminders are the joy of our hearts. But do you agree that sometimes the reminders we get may be less than pleasant? Maybe they even hurt. In this dramatization, pay attention to how we should respond to counsel.
예리 연마주 앞에 있네. 전도자 한번 해볼까? 철학에 있을까요? 아니면 성경에 있을까요?
Today started out well. But after the meeting tonight, my feelings were hurt. Earlier in the week, we invited some friends over to watch a movie. And apparently, this new young elder heard about it. So he counseled me about it after the meeting, saying I should give my movie choices some thought. I just didn't like the way he gave the counsel. He's only 27. That's too young. The next day, we had plans to go out in the ministry with Brother Kang and his wife. But the motivation just wasn't there. I asked to speak with Brother Kang alone. I told him what happened and how we didn't feel the counsel applied to us.
I can understand how you might feel. But Byung-soo, be absolutely honest with me. Do you feel there is no valid reason for that counsel?
Well, maybe there were some scenes that could have been less violent. But the way he gave the counsel, he didn't even ask how we felt.
Byung-soo, what is the only way for us to receive perfect counsel?
From a perfect man.
That's right. And is Jesus here on the earth today?
He was right. Counsel can only be perfect if it's given from a perfect person. Still, this counsel about our movie choices would have been so much easier if it came from someone older and more experienced, like Brother Kang. Well, he must have sensed what I was thinking, because he helped me to remember something from the Bible. When Job underwent severe trials, it was the younger Elihu who helped Job adjust his thinking correctly. It required humility on Job's part to listen to someone younger and less experienced. He then read Proverbs chapter 19, verse 20. Listen to counsel and accept discipline in order to become wise in your future. The point was clear. Keep our focus on the counsel, not the counselor. I later shared Brother Kang's comments with my wife. We both realized we should welcome all counsel from Jehovah. It's for our good. I'm sure it took courage for that young elder to approach me about the matter. But I'm so glad he did, because in the end, his counsel was just another example of God's love.
Yes, we all need reminders. And did you notice some of the main teaching points in this dramatization? First, we need to be humble when we receive counsel. Second, we need to keep our focus on the counsel, not the counselor. And the young elder likely learned from the experience too. Perhaps next time, after conferring with a seasoned elder, he might handle matters with a little bit more tact and discretion. But we can't rely solely on receiving reminders from others to keep our spirituality intact. We need to do our part. One of the tools that can help us to actively search out reminders is JW Library. This amazing app has been installed on over 15 million devices. But do you know how much work it takes to develop and maintain this app? Well, we are now going to look behind the scenes and meet some of the brothers who have either worked on this project or help to organize that work. This really is an opportunity to visit an area in Bethel that you don't get to see on tour. Of course, there are many brothers associated with the work, but we would like you to get to know 3 of these very hardworking brothers, and let me introduce them to you. First of all, Brother Pierre Christensen, the overseer of MEPS programming. Now, Pierre, you've been in this country working in the U.S. Bethel for a number of years, but where are you from originally?
I was born in Denmark and served there in the Brands for years.
So when did you and your wife, Berit, come to the United States?
In 1994. And our first year was in Brooklyn. And then we had 18 years in Patterson and then back to Brooklyn again for 3.5 years. And now we're in Warwick since November last year.
Well, I know you worked in translation services for a while because, in fact, the 2 of us worked together in the same department there for a while. But what type of work have you been involved with since you've come to the United States?
Lots of exciting and challenging jobs. Working in translation services, that was training and support for our translators worldwide. Now in MEPS programming, that is all about distribution of spiritual food to all our brothers and sisters. So we have a ton of work and a lot of challenges. But I'm also working with a lot of very, very talented brothers and sisters. So it's a lot of fun and it's great going to work every day.
That's great to hear, Pierre. In fact, I'm even tempted to come back and work with you.
Oh, we would love that.
I think I'd love it too. Well, let's turn our attention to Brother Alfredo Cerna. Now, you're the assistant overseer of MEPS programming. In fact, you and I worked together in Mexico back in 2003. Could you tell us a little bit about what you were doing at that time?
My last work assignment involved overseeing the large translation department there. It was an amazing privilege to work with translators in sign language and the indigenous languages. A true joy to contribute to preparing publications for those in the minority groups.
So when did you and your wife, Gina, come to the United States to work here?
We arrived at Patterson in 2007. We have fond memories of that time, and it's something we still treasure.
Very good. And now, Brother Paul Willis, where do you originally come from, along with your wife, Sulin, and when did you come to the United States?
Well, we're both originally from South Africa, and we served there in Bethel for a number of years. And then in 2010, we were transferred to work along with MEPS programming here in the US.
So what type of work have you been involved with, particularly recently?
Well, most of my time at Bethel, I've been working on the Watchtower Translation System, or WTS. Actually, I was working along with Pierre. Pierre was in headquarters, and I was working on the programming team that we had in South Africa. WTS is the program that the translators use to help organize and manage their translation work. And then, of course, most recently, I've been working on the mobile apps, the JW Library app and the JW Library Sign Language app.
Very good. Well, now, all of you work in MEPS programming. Pierre, can you just tell us a little bit? We're familiar with the term MEPS, but what really is it?
Well, MEPS stands for Multi-Language Electronic Publishing System.
That didn't help me at all. Sorry. Can you make it a little bit more simpler so we can understand?
We make the tools or the programs that the organization needs to make publications and have them translated into hundreds of languages. So I can illustrate it this way, that we are not making the spiritual food, but we are building a conveyor belt for the spiritual food, from the faithful and discreet slave and down to the printing presses, or to our website, or to what's our library, online library, or like in this case, JW Library.
Thanks so much. Now, at long last, I do understand a bit more about what MEPS means. Now, as I travel around, the brothers and sisters, they tell me how much they love JW Library. But there seems to be no end to the suggestions for improvements, features. We have a long list of suggestions. Can you give us a little bit of an idea of what's involved with trying to develop a new feature with JW Library?
Yes, the brothers and the sisters really love using the app. And because of that, they're keen to get many new features. Of course, we wish we could just add all those new features into the app, but the truth is, we just can't.
Yes, adding each new feature involves a lot of work. And we also need to determine whether a feature that's requested, is that just a nice to have, or is it something that's going to address a real need? For example, will it really help an elder who's out on a shepherding call? Or maybe a pioneer sister who's at the public witnessing carts or at a Bible study or return visit. Also, very important to us is trying to make each new feature very simple to use.
Thanks for doing that.
Especially for a first-time user, someone who's never used the app before. And then, of course, before we start working on anything, we always get approval from the governing body.
That's a good thing to do too.
Like one feature that many have been asking for is the ability to add notes into the app. And of course, before we start programming it, we have to make sure that it actually does what is wanted. And we made a video that shows how we go about that. Would you like to see it?
Well, of course, I'd love to see it.
Hello. How are you?
Good.
Welcome. Thanks for coming.
Yourself?
Fine, thank you. Have a seat. All right, so glad you could be here. Thank you so much.
Ooh, it's all fancy.
Yeah, so we get to talk about JW Library today. So what are some ways that you use JW Library?
I mean, it's revolutionized going to meetings.
I go to meetings sometimes and I just carry my iPad.
The simple fact that you can make the text larger.
It's easy to listen to the readings right in the app now, and so I find myself doing that.
So if we were to make a notes feature, what are some things that you'd like to be able to do?
I mean, if you could see all your notes without tapping on each one, that would be great.
And even if you make a note in maybe your phone, and that it can also be saved in your tablet, that would be really nice.
Well, what if I told you that in front of you is an early version of JW Library?
This is it?
With notes, yeah. So a few months ago, the governing body gave us approval to start working on the notes feature. We got together as a team and we'll do like these rough sketches and the programmers write code. But before we release an update, we have a group of testers. You know, they'll find little glitches or bugs or things, but they'll try to work it out with the programmers. After that, we have a pretty stable version of JW Library. The goal is to show it to you, and you can let us know what you think. So now that you've seen the new notes feature in JW Library, what do you think?
I love that I can tag the personal things that I need to work on, or a comment or a scripture that I can encourage someone with. This is fantastic.
Yeah, that's great.
I like that I can find my notes, especially using the search feature. It's great.
And it's really neat how my comments, I can place it right next to the paragraph for meetings, and it doesn't cover the actual text.
Yeah. The ability to back it up so you can restore it to another device, that's going to be really helpful.
I love it. Amazing.
Okay, go ahead.
So telling us we can proceed.
That's fantastic. But brothers, you can't show us something like that and not tell us when we're going to get it.
Well, we said on the website it was coming soon.
I know you said that on the website, but when?
Is it okay to be more specific than that?
I think that's why they invited us here.
Paul, let's hear it.
Well, we're happy to tell you that the notes feature in JW Library will be coming soon. And by soon, we mean during May of 2017, this month. So we can go and check the app stores for an update.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear. So all of us will be happy to be able to put our own reminders right there in the JW Library app. Well, I'm looking forward to being able to do that as well. But now, while I've got you here, we're not going to let you go until we ask this big question. What are you working on now? In other words, what can we expect to see soon with JW Library?
We have another brief video showing what the team is working on to support the Study Bible on JW Library app. Would you like to see it?
That's wonderful. Let's have a look.
Later this year, work will begin on adding the study edition of the New World Translation to JW Library. When this edition becomes available in your language, you will be able to discover spiritual gems in the study notes. And the new media gallery will help you to visualize the people, places, and things you read about. You will also see the new overviews of each book, play the introductory videos, and study additional appendix material. All of this and more is coming soon to JW Library.
That sounds so exciting. So we'll all look forward to getting that feature. You said coming soon, didn't you? Anyway, we'd like to thank you very much for the fact that you've come along and you've explained so much to us about what goes on with MEPS programming and the JW Library app. But before you go, we'd like to ask you, when you go back to your department, please take an expression of our appreciation back to the hard-working brothers and sisters who are working behind the scenes and providing this tool for us.
Will do.
Happy to.
Thank you very much. And speaking of behind the scenes, do you remember the beautiful dramas we had at the regional convention last year? One of them was about King Hezekiah. We saw not only the threat Jehovah's people faced, but also the protection Jehovah provided. In producing the drama, the Audio-Video Services Department used a lot of visual effects. Let's go behind the scenes and find out what the work entailed.
The goal of our visual effects team is to take the work done during film production and expand it. Our work was driven by the Bible account. The audience needed to feel the intimidating power of the Assyrian army while not endangering our actors. And the use of visual effects had the added benefit of drastically saving donated funds. But this meant creating hundreds of digital arrows, war machines, cities, tents, soldiers, and even an Assyrian palace. In some cases, the foreground elements had to be separated from the background, so digital components could be added. This was a time-consuming process, as many foreground elements had to be cut out, frame by frame, 24 times for each second of video. Our research team ensured the world created was as accurate as possible. For example, having period-correct materials for the temple, as well as accurate stone reliefs. After filming was complete, the research team noted some scenes in the treasury were accidentally shot showing priests wearing sandals. As this was inaccurate, the issue was corrected by generating additional digital treasures and placing them in the foreground. As we didn't have the luxury of 185,000 extras, actors were dressed in ancient costumes and their pictures taken. We then used these pictures to create digital extras, using crowd simulating software to place them in the scenes and drive their movements. The angel shot proved to be one of the most challenging. The original version didn't have the dramatic feel needed for the scene. So the entire sequence was recreated to more accurately convey the immense power those present must have witnessed. Finishing this project on schedule had many challenges. After hearing about just a few of them, one industry expert said what we were attempting was impossible. But like Hezekiah, when hearing negative reports, we stayed positive and relied on Jehovah. With his help, the film was completed on time and is now a wonderful tool to bring this Bible account to life.
A beautiful drama, and how encouraging it was to see Jehovah rescue his people. The 2016 Regional Convention was excellent, don't you agree? But you'll be happy to know that we've prepared a little glimpse of what is to come at this year's convention to whet your appetite.
Are you okay?
Brian, I'm worried.
You need more money.
Jehovah will take care of us. He always has. We have enough.
Maybe enough for today. But what if you get sick?
Gloria's mother keeps badgering her and me to move up.
I can get a job at my uncle's real estate firm. Maybe this is an answer to our prayers.
What about your pioneering?
What about it? I can do both.
Gloria, I must congratulate you on your hard work with my company. But you must learn to keep your religion in its place.
We're neglecting family worship, study, service. We've even become too busy, or maybe too ashamed, to even pray together.
I'm concerned about you. One of the things that you always talked to me about was Matthew 6:24. You cannot slave for God and for riches. You're not the same person that I once knew.
Dad, where's Mom? She is coming, right?
Is it really wrong to try to improve our life?
Mom, remember the wife of Lot.
Remember the wife of Lot.
The wife of Lot.
If you have yet to make definite plans to attend your regional convention this year, don't delay. Our conventions are a loving provision from Jehovah. Whatever it takes, talking to your boss to get time off work or making travel plans, yes, whatever it takes, our efforts are worth it because we truly treasure Jehovah's reminders. Jesus' words in Matthew 11:28 are very appropriate considering everything we go through in the system of things. Come to me, all you who are toiling and loaded down, and I will refresh you. Yes, conventions can be of refreshment to us, giving us the boost we need. But such refreshment is also available when the world around us seems to be falling apart. How does the organization help our brothers and sisters in times of national crisis? We met two witness couples who personally experienced two of the largest terrorist attacks in recent years.
Not a day goes by when we don't think about our son Paulie.
There was horror and suffering, things we don't want to witness anymore.
September 11th was a very scary, terrifying day.
As for me, when I really understood what was happening, I got scared. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to think. I felt helpless.
When the second tower fell, Paulie was on the 110th floor, and everybody was shouting, crying. I was praying to Jehovah because I was heartbroken.
We live on Voltaire Boulevard. It's a broad avenue. There is a concert hall called the Bataclan. When the doors of the Bataclan are open, we can hear everything that goes on inside.
That night, 3 men entered the Bataclan concert hall, and they started shooting into the crowd. We immediately grabbed our go bags, and then we sat in front of the sofa, and we begged Jehovah for His Holy Spirit so we could face the situation.
Voilà, donc c'était aux alentours de 22 heures. Mais on apprend que voilà, il y a un flash spécial.
It was around 10 p.m. when there was a news flash that announced that there was an attack. I was in shock when I heard the news. And then I immediately thought about our brothers and sisters. I quickly got in contact with the circuit overseer in order to get some news about our brothers and sisters to know how they were doing. Then, very early the next morning, we set up an emergency committee made up of several brothers from the service department. We decided to write a letter and make other arrangements to assist the friends who, in one way or another, were affected by this event. In turn, the circuit overseer would make an effort to rapidly get in touch with the elders who oversee the affected territory. One of our challenges on a personal level was whether we would even be able to encourage our brothers and sisters, because we had never experienced such a terrible event. We organized ourselves, we paired up as elders and headed off to do shepherding.
We started calling mid-morning on Tuesday. We received a report back from all the traveling overseers by the end of Thursday. And unfortunately, we learned that 14 of our brothers and sisters had lost their lives. We knew that we needed to encourage the families. We knew that we needed to shepherd them as soon as possible.
The elders immediately came We went over the book of Job, and I just listened, I was just listening. I've heard the same words before, but it was different now. The things that were being said went straight to my heart.
A few days later, we were visited by two brothers from Bethel. It was very touching that they came to see us and that they were concerned about us. It shows us that Jehovah was aware of how we felt that night.
Our brothers were there. They were ready to help one another out. Then there was so much empathy and love shown.
When we were ultimately granted access to Ground Zero and we started encountering the first responders, that we let them know how much we appreciated their hard work and that they had a skill set that we didn't have. But yet our skill set was trying to offer comfort to them. We shared a scripture with them. Immediately, we could tell that that was something that caused emotion to rise up in them right away. And they expressed great appreciation for that. It's one of the beautiful things about the scriptures is that they're calming, soothing, comforting. And the scriptures did not let down the workers that were there at Ground Zero either.
The visit of the brothers from Bethel was really a gift from Jehovah. It showed his genuine interest in us. It was really wonderful.
After the brothers visited us, we felt so comforted, so encouraged that we said to each other, we have to get back in the ministry and comfort people in the territory. We have to console our brothers and sisters as well. We can only thank and glorify Jehovah, who really is a God of love.
I kind of felt, Jehovah's hands just reaching out to me, which I needed. But I cannot wait till the day that I'm totally refreshed, where I can actually see Paulie. I can see him just coming back into our lives, and I want to embrace him so much.
After something like this, we are not the same. But with the help of the organization, the brothers, Jehovah's there for us. So that is refreshing.
And I thank Jehovah a lot for what he wants to do for me, but also for the millions of people that feel the same way.
What these couples went through was a horrible reminder of Satan's rule, but we look forward to the relief from Jehovah, the only true hope we have. Reminders of Jehovah's care, such as these interviews, can be the joy of our heart, as the psalmist said. Yes, the reminder of Jehovah is trustworthy, making the inexperienced one wise. Before we conclude, let's visit our brothers and sisters in India. India is the second most populated country in the world, with a population of some 1.2 billion people. The kingdom preaching work is conducted by some 45,000 brothers and sisters in 627 congregations. And last year, close to 125,000 people attended the memorial of Christ's death. Our visit brings us to Pyramid, which is located in the southern tip of the Indian peninsula in the state of Kerala. This town is located some 914 meters, or almost 3,000 feet above sea level. It is a land of spices and lush greenery, with tea and coffee plantations. The two congregations there have a total of 70 publishers. Many of them work in tea estates and struggle to make a living. They are eager users of the JW Library app, which they use to share our videos and publications in the ministry. As Pyramid is a hill station, their territory consists of rugged and uneven terrain. Since the congregations there are watching this program together with all of us, we wanted to take this opportunity to convey their warm Christian greetings to all of Jehovah's people around the world. We love you very much. This is JW Broadcasting from the world headquarters of Jehovah's Witnesses.